Hello, everybody, and welcome back into the Daily Score. I am Mark Grote. Today will be a Bears show coming off the rookie minicamp from last weekend, and a guy that we talked to pre-draft and love hearing on the score when he comes on is our Audacy NFL insider, Brian Baldinger, and he joins us once again on the Daily Score. What's going on, Baldy? How are you today, man?
Hey, Mark, I'm like everybody else, man. You know, this is the next thing on the NFL calendar here is the schedule release. It's beginning to get leaked here and there a little bit, but I'm like everybody else. I just kind of want to see the schedule, start looking ahead and kind of planning ahead and thinking this might not be that far away.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people, reporters, guys like you and me who sometimes travel, we all kind of look at the schedule and plot out where the good trips are going to be. And you know this, Brian, that there is going to, no matter what comes of the Bears schedule this year, people are going to probably want to watch the Bears because of Caleb Williams and because of a lot of the talent that they have accrued in the offseason, obviously in the draft as well. Do you think that the Bears are, even though they only won 7 games last year, will be one of the most interesting teams to track this year in the NFL?
Oh, I think so. There's going to be a lot of interest. Obviously, they were a much improved team the second half of the season last year. That's part of it, but when you get the number 1 pick and you get Caleb, the NFL wants to showcase the quarterbacks, and they should. You know, as a guy, Mark, that is an analyst and, announces games every weekend, I mean, when you get good quarterback play, the game is better. Get out of the way. Don't screw it up. They want to see these young quarterbacks succeed. They're going to give them opportunities to kind of showcase that talent. And I would say that they're probably going to be in prime time a couple of times, early in the season, just with the expectations, Heisman Trophy winner, number 1 pick, that kind of stuff. Like I can see them being featured quite a bit.
No doubt about it. What do you think is the biggest thing that Caleb Williams will have to adjust to at the NFL level?
Well, I mean, look, he was brilliant playing beyond the X's and O's in college at both Oklahoma and USC. And, we watch Patrick Mahomes do that and Josh Allen. A couple guys do that. Usually when you play that style, you make mistakes. And we've seen both those quarterbacks make plenty. But they're good enough to overcome a lot of those mistakes and, carry their team. So, Caleb is going to probably do some of that. And then it's a question of it's risk versus reward. What the big play versus the turnover, the interception. I didn't see this defender, the tip ball. I think that's just that. And look, you can't play with fear, and I don't think Caleb will. Just knowing him, I don't think he will. But, quarterbacks can go through these bad cycles sometimes when they're turning it over and losing, and you just hear from everybody. So, but I don't want him to play scared and just play safe. Like, that's not going to win Bears any championships. So I think there's a balance there, Mark, and how you get to that balance is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough balance, and it's a great point by you. I mean, Bears fans have seen enough of the quarterback manager and the guy that you hope that you win with as opposed to because. However, the Bears do have a ton of weapons. I want to start, since I haven't talked to you since the draft.
Yeah.
I want to start with, we know how we feel about Caleb Williams, but what about the Bears snagging Rome Odunze where they did in the first round at number 9? And how fast do you think somebody like Odunze can catch up and be an impact player in this Bears offense?
Well, he was my number 1 receiver in the draft. And I remember just getting to know Michael Penix Jr. in this since the Super Bowl and talked to him, his agent. And when that change happened at Washington, Rome was going to leave. He was going to, like a lot of these guys, he was going to go find a better quarterback, find a better team, better coach. He was going to, he was looking out. Like a lot of these guys do. He was ready to hit the portal. And Michael Penix Jr. said, don't go. Just stay. Let's just work through this thing. And he did. And he became an elite player. And the team was really good. I think, the quarterback makes the receivers. I mean, you can already tell they have a good relationship. I mean, it doesn't always immediately transfer to the field. But we saw with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, I kind of feel like they could have that type of chemistry. Now, I'm not saying Caleb is Joe Burrow yet, or Odunze is Jamar yet. They have to go do it. But I kind of feel like they might have that type of trust and belief in each other.
I am trying to figure out, and none of us really knows what the Bears offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, how this is going to work, so to speak, when you have Keenan Allen and DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. How do you think the best way, knowing the individual skills of each of these wide receivers, how do you think it's going to work for those receivers and this Bears offense? And you add in Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift and some of the other weapons that the Bears accrued this year. But I'm so interested specifically in those three wide receivers and how they will use them, Baldy.
Well, I mean, Seattle, Shane Waldron came from Seattle. He came from the Rams. All those teams have played plenty of three receiver sets. Mm-hmm. Now, in Seattle, Tyler Lockett kind of went into the slot. He was really good in the slot. Keenan Allen is an excellent slot player. But Keenan Allen was off to his best start last year ever. Mm-hmm. And having enjoyed his best season before a late season injury. And he got the targets and the numbers that he did because Kellen Moore moved him all over the place. And Keenan loved it. Now, will Keenan Allen, I don't think he just wants to be a slot player. He wants to go outside. He wants to be, he wants to win from everywhere. So there's a balance there because I feel like Rome is an outside receiver and I know DJ is an outside receiver. So you can't have three guys that just play on the outside. Somebody's got to go inside. And those are different type of routes and it's a lot more physical and you're going to get hit when you get, you're going to get smacked in the middle. So it's a little different, but Keenan Allen's been excellent inside. So I would think in a lot of ways, we're going to see a lot of Keenan Allen in the slot because he's going to get that slot defender. And, he's such a great route runner. He's going to get separation. And to me, that's it. I would say that's where it's going to start. If they got 11 personnel and Cole's the tight end and there are three receivers, I think it starts with Keenan in the slot with DJ and Rome outside.
Okay, that's good. I mean, that's as good of an answer as I've gotten on that. And it totally makes sense. And he's going to Allen and DJ Moore, two guys that are excellent on third down. We'll see what Rome Odunze, if he can follow up in that too. So they have built quite a nice nest. The one position right now on the Bears offense that they do not have figured out is the center position. They're talking about Coleman Shelton as a possibility, Ryan Bates, whom, Ryan Poles had tried to get a couple of years ago and got on his team this year. A lot of people think that he may be the center, but how much of a problem is that going into this year with a rookie quarterback that it looks like they're going to have a competition at center? Is that a little bit of a setback or not ideal, I should say, for a rookie quarterback that day one of training camp, there's supposedly going to be some sort of competition, or maybe they won't have a competition?
It's not ideal. It's not. You're as strong as your center. I mean, just are. The center, there's a lot of centers that went in the draft this year for a good reason. Ryan Bates, I know Ryan Bates, who was a free agent out of Penn State, played guard in Buffalo. Try hard guy. And I've never seen him play center. I'm not saying I don't know if he can or can't. I've never seen him play it. Not the NFL. Maybe at Penn State he did. Coleman's a left-handed center, has started in Los Angeles. I don't think it's a strong position right now. I just don't. I think it's for a rookie quarterback, you'd love to have a veteran center. Love to have a guy that is going to be firm in the middle. Pocket's not going to get pushed. They're going to make all the calls. It's going to be another guy calling the blitzes and the pressures and the fronts out of just experience. It is not ideal, and I'm not here to say Coleman can't do it. He has started. Ryan Bates has been a starter. I haven't seen him play center. Maybe he becomes a good center. But I don't think it's a position of strength for the Bears right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I understand that, they consider the tackles to be the premium positions on the offensive line. But coming into this season, that is the one part that is scaring me a little bit about the Bears offense. I want to ask you about a couple of the other Bears draft picks, and specifically the first one is the Bears fifth rounder, Austin Booker, defensive end out of Kansas, 6'5". He looks the part, man. I was out at rookie camp. This guy is a big, long, lean, muscular guy. But one of the things that they told us out there that that he's going to have to get used to, or that a lot of defensive ends have to get used to. And I know this hits home closely with you, is that all of a sudden they get to this level and those guys, those offensive linemen, are a lot bigger, stronger, and more experienced, and you don't get around them as easily as you did in college. Do you think that's the biggest challenge for Austin Booker going into this year?
No, but it's a challenge. I mean, I think the biggest challenge, look, I did games in the Big 12 for 10 years. They all play the same defense in the Big 12. They all play a 3-3 double cloud. They started it in Iowa State. Everybody copied it. It's great against the spread offense. But for the most part, you got to like go find plays where Booker is lined up as a true defensive end, outside and outside pass rush. Typically, they line up over the tackle. You just don't get a chance to really truly rush the passer. That's why you don't see a lot of defensive ends coming out of the Big 12. You just don't. Now, Kansas has turned that program around. It's been remarkable what they did. I mean, they used to be just a doormat every year, but they've turned it around. They're a much more competitive team. They got better players, better coach. But I think the biggest adjustment is just going to be he's going to be playing a wide 9. We'll see what Matt plays this year. But, you got to win off the edge, run and pass. Like, you can't get hooked by Trent Williams. You're going up against Skoronski, week 1, Tennessee. Like, you can't get hook block. They're going to run down the alley on you, and your safeties are going to get beat up, Jaquan, whatever. So there's a lot to learn. And typically these guys need a redshirt year, Mark. They just do. It's just different football. They got to get more physical. They've got to see these blocking schemes that they've never seen before that you don't play in the Big 12. You got to play a different style of defense. I'm not saying he doesn't have the talent to become that guy. They had a guy there. Remember that kid that came out of Alabama, Mark Robinson? He had one good year in Chicago. He had like 12 sacks.
Oh, you're talking about Mark Anderson. Mark Anderson.
Yes. Mark, he had one big year, and then he never did another thing. Now, I'm not predicting that here, but it is about being really consistent. I think it helps that Montez is in the room, and he's a freak. And I think it helps to have some veteran guys there like that that can help him. And, Montez is a good pass rusher, not a great pass rusher. But, he's got attributes that not many in this league have. I mean, size, wingspan, speed, and he plays hard, plays the game the right way. It was a great pickup. But, hopefully that kid, hopefully Booker, really follows him around and learns from him.
I think it's a great point. And they have all but said, to your, as you said, a red shirt season. They've all but said that because they say, they're using words like raw and a prospect. And I know some of the coaches I spoke to say, I've yet to see a rookie that isn't raw, but this is different. And the Bears are serious about winning. It's not about developing. Hopefully they can do that in practice, but I totally understand what you're saying. On the offensive line for the Bears also drafted in the 3rd round out of Yale, Karan Amagaji, who is not going to be ready until at least training camp because of a quad injury. What do you think about Amagaji, and from what you know of what he did at Yale, and how much does that set the guy back when he essentially cannot participate in the offseason program and hopefully will be ready for training camp?
I remember, I'm just going to make an analogy. Maybe it plays, maybe it doesn't. I remember when Pete Sampras was growing up playing tennis. Mm-hmm. And he was at Palos Verdes, California. I had a nephew that played tennis, and they knew each other. And by the time Pete Sampras was 13 years old, he was just better than my nephew. Never played him again. Like, Pete became Pete Sampras because he always played up. If you're Karan and you're playing in the Ivy League and you're playing Dartmouth on Saturday and then you're playing Brown and, you're just not seeing the athlete. Now, you can look at Karan. He's got an NFL body. And he's got good movement. He just, and look, if you're not going to be ready till training camp or beyond, you can't really count on him this year. You just can't. There's just too much time missed. And the game's going to be way too fast. And I don't know where they're going to play him. I hear people want to move him to guard. He played left tackle at Yale. He's a prospect. He's a prospect. But to me, I'm not saying putting him in bubble wrap. You got to play. But this is going to be a big jump. I remember Matt Burke came out of Harvard, and he was a left tackle at Harvard, and he went to center. And they knew that when Minnesota drafted him, at late rounds like Karan, they moved him to center and became an all-world center. Now, he was smart like Karan is, and he became a great center. and I kind of feel like he might have to go inside to have a career.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, they talked about he talked about working out or learning all the positions. I know at least on draft night, Ryan Poles was talking about swing tackle, was pretty honest that he wouldn't be competing for a starting spot this year, maybe next year. So hopefully that they'll kind of follow through with that as well. One of the guys that comes back and is in the final year of his rookie contract on that offensive line is their starting left guard, Tevin Jenkins, who is an interesting one. You know, he came in his rookie year with Justin Fields, had the back surgery, didn't play till week 14, got moved inside. He's had an array of injuries, but he looks really good at left guard. I want to ask you, do you think that this is a guy that the Bears should extend or invest in, considering that they seem to have found a home? Or do you think the injuries that he has had are a red flag in terms of giving this guy a nice big second contract?
I don't know. You know, it's hard for anybody to, from the outside, see what the injury is. I mean, he played well last year. He coming out of Oklahoma State, you know, he was a mauler. We knew what he was. He brings that mentality to the line. I like Tevin Jenkins. Like, I think, like I'm fans of, you know, the Bears in the 80s. Like, I love Mark Bortz.
Oh yeah.
Big
Keith
Q
Van Horn.
Yeah, I mean, I love that group.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not saying he's Mark Bortz, because Mark Bortz has lined up and played every down for I don't know how many years at Iowa. But I feel like Tevin Jenkins could be that tough guy inside that they need, that everybody needs. You know, he's just a mauler, and, you know, he moves well enough and he battles hard. Like, I feel like at some point you got to commit. You got to say, we got to get, you know, we got to try to get, like Kansas City has played, you know, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith every down for 3 straight years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then, you know, they had an injury there at left guard, but you got to get the interior. The tackles, you're going to pay those guys the money, but you got to get your interior guys playing together, like Cleveland does, like, you know, Kansas City does, like Philadelphia does. Like, you got to get those guys playing together, because your center is only as good as your guards. Your guards is only as good as playing next to the guys. So there is a chemistry that you have to develop. I feel like Tevin's a guy that has that component to him.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, I'm as impressed with him as anybody, because he made it pretty clear he did not like it at first being moved from the outside to the inside. Everybody wants to be a tackle, but I talked to him the other day, and he is happy as can be to be on the inside. I mean, like, he's found a home, right, Baldy? Yeah,
that's what it's about. You know, you can have a career. You have a good career. Yeah. You know, I mean, second contract, guys get second contracts at guards. They get a lot of money. Chicago's a great place to live. The team's on the up and coming. You got the number 1 pick playing, that you're blocking for. I kind of know Caleb a little bit. Like, he knows the guys that are going to allow him to be successful, and it starts up front. So I would just say this, Mark, when you go out to practice and you're out there at Haugh,
yes,
like, I always like my quarterback walking out into the field, my offensive lineman, the way McMahon did. You know, like, I want Caleb to be like literally arm in arm with Tevin and those guys up front. Like, that's the way it becomes successful.
Yeah, buy him nice watches once a week, or
get him a pair of cowboy boots. Get him a shotgun. You know, go pheasant hunting with the guys. You know, whatever it is. Like, really get into their world, man. The quarterback's going to be a lot better if he does.
Yeah. Last 2 questions for you. I'm talking to Brian Baldinger, Audacy NFL Insider. You should follow him on Twitter at Baldy NFL. On the defense, the Bears had Justin Jones last year as their 3 technique. Well, as a matter of fact, for the last couple of years, he is not on the roster this year. They have 2 second-year guys, Gervon Dexter and Zach Pickens. It seems like the guy that they are most interested in making the 3 tech would be Gervon Dexter. From what you have seen, and I know you haven't watched every single down of Gervon Dexter, do you think that he can take the reins of that 3 technique? Because I haven't really gotten a positive answer yet from the Bears on Dexter.
Yeah, well, he was a second-round pick, so, you know, they invested in him. Justin Jones showed up last year, for sure. Especially the second half of the season when the defense tightened up. Typically, all players, but specifically defensive linemen, make the biggest jump between the first and second year. They have now seen blocking schemes that they've never seen before. They now know that they need a plan in order to beat guard, center, slides, chips, you name it. They need a better plan than probably what they came in with. So hopefully they've worked on that all year round, and they're better at getting off blocks, recognizing play action pass. So if Javon, like the 3 technique is critical. I mean, look, the staff left Indianapolis. DeForest Buckner, is a 3 technique. I mean, he's an elite 6'7" freak athlete. Like San Francisco's never been the same without him. There's not enough of them. There never is. It's a very difficult position because you have to be so disruptive, and so that means you got to be quick twitch. You got to have you got to have skills to defeat blocks. You got to see double teams and take them on. Like it's a very difficult position if you're not natural at it. And a lot of guys, I mean, there's only a couple Warren Sapps out there.
Yeah.
But, that position is critical, and it's critical for the linebacker safety and longevity and playmaking to have that guy doing his job.
It's funny that you mentioned Warren Sapp because, I mean, we all use him as one of the models of the 3 technique, and it's probably going to be pretty hard for Gervon Dexter to live up to something like that or anybody. Yeah. But that's the way you play. That's the idea of the 3 technique, right, Baldy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who's the kid that they had from for a while from Oklahoma?
The Bears? Tommy Harris. Tommy Harris. Yeah.
Before the injuries, Tommy Harris was your 3 technique.
Yeah, he's
and
great.
Urlacher, Briggs. I mean, they made every tackle in large part because Tommy was doing his job. The injuries caught up to him, but he was a really elite player. They spent a first-round pick on Tommy. He was an elite player for a while, and they got great play, and they were a great defense. Went to a Super Bowl, and that's what you need at that position.
Last thing for you, Brian, it really feels like the Bears knew that the value of this draft was the Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. We talked about Austin Booker, a project, Karan Amagaji injured, probably not going to make a big impact this year. And the last guy in the 4th round that for us to talk about would be Tory Taylor as the Bears take the Iowa punter in the 4th round. What did you think about them taking a punter in the 4th round and Tory Taylor and what he did at Iowa and what he might do in the NFL?
Well, he's played in similar weather that you're going to get in Chicago.
Yep.
He's played on a lot of bad fields like you're going to get in Chicago. I'm not here to, in Green Bay. I mean, there's difficult conditions for any punter.
Absolutely.
So it's critical that you see him in those conditions, which they did. Look, it's a field position game. You want to be a defensive-minded club, it's field position. It's a whole lot harder to score if you got to go 90 yards versus 75. So, can you pin him when he gets the opportunity? Can you pin these guys down inside the 10? Can you make them go a long field? You want to be able to win 2 games a year because of your special teams, and you don't want to lose 2 games. Because 2 of the 17 games are going to come down to special teams. I don't care what year it is, who you're playing. 2 games are going to come down to special teams, and it could be a blocked field goal. It could be, a punt to the coffin corner. It could be It could be anything. The Bears lost to the Eagles in a playoff game because of a double doink. 2 games every year are going to come down to special teams. So when you address that, and you don't know until you get out there, maybe this is going to be a weapon for them, defensively, offensively.
That's what they're hoping. Bears may be looking really good by the middle of the season, like you said, when the conditions are terrible in Chicago and wherever else they play around the country, which we're going to be finding out very soon. Brian Baldinger, Audacy NFL Insider. Great stuff as always, man. Thank you so much, man.
No pleasure, Mark. Anytime, buddy.
That was some really good stuff from Brian Baldinger, and I think he's the first person that I have talked to who was just totally honest in saying that it's a problem at the center position that you're not quite sure which guy it's going to be, that it appears that it's going to be a competition. Ryan Bates has played some center. Coleman Shelton has more experience at the position. So you do have 2 guys that are veterans in the NFL, but how sure-handed, pardon the pun, are they at the position? That makes me nervous, man. As much good as the Bears have done in this offseason, that is one position on the overall that they have failed to completely solidify, unless in their scouting minds they are thinking, oh, we got the guy, don't worry, and they actually know it's going to be Ryan Bates or they know it's going to be Coleman Shelton. But going into a rookie year for a quarterback, any quarterback, but especially in this year where the Bears have heightened the expectations. You did so much good stuff. You got the rookie receiver. You got the veteran Keenan Allen. You got DeAndre Swift in the backfield. You've just made all of these improvements. But what about the guy who touches the ball on every single down? And I'm not just talking about Caleb Williams. I'm talking about the center position. So honestly, I was kind of hoping that he'd be like, no, it's okay. It's all good. Those guys are terrific. But Brian Baldinger breaks down tape and knows these guys as well as anybody. So he kind of confirmed my concern, if you will, about the center position. The other one, too, is, look, when I went out to rookie camp and saw Austin Booker, you see this guy, there's no way to tell how good he is at this point. I can't sit here and tell you that he broke through or he made these unbelievable plays, but you just look at the guy, the legit 6'5", 240, and like, okay, that guy's got to be good. But they've talked about him being raw and a project, and Baldinger essentially saying, the red shirt, that word came out of his mouth, or that concept where you sit the guy for the whole year. You had somebody similar to that. You didn't sit him. Dominique Robinson, who is also on the roster. Hopefully there's more success than that. Just a little bit. I understand it's 5th round pick, so I'm not like tearing apart the Bears for the pick, and hopefully by next year, maybe he's a breakout player, but we all want it now. I don't think we're going to get it now from Austin Booker. Same thing with Karan Amagaji. I've been covering football on a full-time basis long enough to know that when a rookie misses big parts of the off-season program, I'm not even talking about camp. I'm talking about OTAs, rookie mini camp, veteran mini camp, all that stuff. It sets them back, especially at a position as complicated and crucial as the offensive line. And that's what's going on with Karan Amagaji. Maybe he becomes a swing tackle. Maybe he can come in a pinch once he gets healthy. But it is concerning that he's got the leg injury that he has. And hopefully that gets better and then he can get up to speed. Like Brian Baldinger said, he's got the side. I mean, he stands out on the field. And he was on the rookie practice field this weekend. I did see him, on the field engaging, sometimes just on the sideline, under the goalpost, but around the offensive line. So he's doing his homework and all of that. We talked to him. He talks the part and seems to be earnest in his words. But again, a little bit disappointing in that regard. And of course, you have to ask about the punter situation and Torrey Taylor. And we'll see. I know we're making a big deal out of it, but it is interesting and novel that they took a 4th rounder there. And Gervon Dexter, I hope he's right in that, or I know he's right that defensive linemen make their biggest jump between the 1st and 2nd years. Let's hope that is the case with Gervon Dexter, because that is so crucial as well. Talked about DeForest Buckner, Tommy Harris, who was just a badass for his first 4 years in the NFL before his career was ruined with injuries. But I thought that was just one of our better Bears interviews in a while in terms of really being honest and breaking down what the Bears have and don't have at that point. I am Mark Grote. Thank you for listening to the Daily Score. We appreciate it. Shout out to my nephew, Michael Hosey in Tucson, Arizona. He is an everyday listener to the Daily Score, or so he tells me. So shout out, Michael. Shout out to Ray Diaz, the executive producer. I'm Mark Grote. Talk to you tomorrow on the Daily Score. Bye-bye.